Caitlin Clark could be refusing to use Indiana fever.
Stephanie White's announcement made it quite evident that Caitlin Clark had just given the Indiana Fever medical staff the ultimate slap in the face.
Looks like she's in pain.
Following yet another injury catastrophe, Caitlin seems to have lost faith in the team doctors and is choosing to go it alone. The consequences of the medical staff's recent dismissal by their own superstar are severe. Please let me know in the comments before we start this medical staff collapse. Do you believe that, following all of these recurrent injuries, Caitlin Clark is correct to fire the Fever doctors?
Clark has already been ruled out for tomorrow's game, Tuesday night, against New York in New York.
Now, people, it appears that Caitlin Clark has had enough of the medical circus surrounding the Indiana Fever. Can you really blame her, to be honest? Perhaps it's time to hire some real experts when your best player keeps getting wounded every few games and the medical staff seems as dependable as a chocolate teapot. Stephanie White has revealed information that essentially supports the suspicions of everyone with functional brain cells. Caitlin Clark is taking charge of her own injury care since she no longer has any faith in the Fever medical staff. Given that Stephanie White's recent remarks include hints that could lead to a medical catastrophe, let's examine what actually transpired. She made a very telling statement when asked about Caitlin's injury status. Everyone seems to be missing.
Well, I haven't seen since the game last night, but I think she's progressing. I think that we're continuing to address everything that needs to be addressed. She's gonna see some doctors and get some more tests run early in the week. I don't expect her to be available on Tuesday, so we're just gonna continue to take it one day at a time and let her get her evaluations early this week, and then once we've done that, hopefully we'll have more of a clear line of what it.
Now, people, it appears that Caitlin Clark has had enough of the medical circus surrounding the Indiana Fever. Can you really blame her, to be honest? Perhaps it's time to hire some real experts when your best player keeps getting wounded every few games and the medical staff seems as dependable as a chocolate teapot. Stephanie White has revealed information that essentially supports the suspicions of everyone with functional brain cells. Caitlin Clark is taking charge of her own injury care since she no longer has any faith in the Fever medical staff. Given that Stephanie White's recent remarks include hints that could lead to a medical catastrophe, let's examine what actually transpired. She made a very telling statement when asked about Caitlin's injury status. Everyone seems to be missing.
It looked like two different doctors just told the shocking truth about Caitlin.
The timing of all of this is also ideal, as it coincides with numerous real medical experts publicly criticizing the way the Fever has been treating Caitlin's injuries. It's likely an indication that something is amiss when actual medical professionals are criticizing your staff on social media. A.N. true expert in athletic medicine, Dr. Jesse Morris, essentially set the entire medical team on fire by stating that their efforts are regrettably insufficient. Not very effective, not in need of development, but simply insufficient. These individuals are incompetent, according to medical professionals. The entire story is also shown by the injury timeline. Caitlin Clark has been fighting with groin and quad injuries since literally the beginning of the season, strains in the left and right groins, followed by another strain in the left groin. Something keeps breaking down, so she hasn't been able to play 5 straight full games this season. That isn't typical basketball player wear and tear. Either bad luck or subpar medical care is at blame. And luck no longer serves as a plausible explanation when it repeatedly occurs. She continues to sustain the same kinds of injuries, which implies that the rehabilitation and treatment she has been receiving aren't addressing the underlying cause of the issue. As actual medical professionals have noted, it is infamously difficult to heal from groin strains. Additionally, they simply keep coming back if you don't address them properly. This is where things start to become very interesting, though. Caitlin needs more sophisticated treatment options, such as stem cell infusions and hyperbaric chamber therapy, according to some specialists. Not all medical staff members are prepared to provide these simple therapies. It's unlikely that your typical team doctor would administer stem cell injections to Caitlin's exact tendon attachment locations in the locker room, as Dr. Morris suggested. That calls for particular knowledge and tools that the Indiana Fever medical staff might not have. From the start, Stephanie White's manner of discussing these ailments has also been dubious. When real medical experts advise that groin strains are more like week-to-week issues, she maintains insisting that Caitlin is experiencing daily pain. Either her medical team doesn't comprehend what they're dealing with, or she doesn't understand what they're telling her. Additionally, the communication pattern surrounding these injuries has been peculiar. Do you recall Stephanie White saying she was unaware of Caitlin's ailment until the evening before she was declared out? It's either the medical staff doesn't know what's happening with their top player's health, or they aren't communicating effectively. Caitlin is reportedly planning to see some doctors in order to gain a better understanding of the situation. That person seems to have lost faith in the medical advice she has been receiving and is seeking a second, third, and most likely fourth opinion from professionals who are truly qualified to give it. This has significant financial ramifications as well. The WNBA's face, Caitlin Clark, is likely worth millions of dollars to both the league and the Fever organization. It is not only a health issue, but also a business issue when your most valuable asset is constantly getting hurt due to dubious medical care. Consider it from Caitlin's point of view. She has been a professional athlete for 2 years. Even when her earning potential is at its highest, she continues to get injuries that could be avoided with the right medical attention. She will undoubtedly look for the best care available, even if it means avoiding the medical personnel on her own team. Additionally, the contrast with other professional sports is striking. When NBA players experience recurrent injuries, they frequently seek out specialized therapy and second views. This seems out of the ordinary for the WNBA, which likely speaks more to the league's medical standards than Caitlin's judgment. For the Fever, the Chicago Bulls connection that has been circulating is especially hurtful. The Bulls gained notoriety for manipulating player injuries, most notably Derrick Rose's. It's not exactly a badge of honor if the Fever are being compared to that group in terms of medical management. The speed at which this injury situation developed is what's most telling. Caitlin was fit and was playing well when she suddenly started having recurrent quad and groin problems. That points to either a serious issue with her conditioning and training regimen or a serious issue with the way her ailments are being identified and managed. It is frightening for everyone concerned that physicians are speculating that she may need to be sidelined for prolonged periods of time or run the risk of re-injuring these same regions for the remainder of the season. When things are being handled correctly, you don't receive that type of medical advice. Additionally, Stephanie White has frequently used ambiguous language when discussing the injury. They don't expect Caitlin to be available for upcoming games. She says in the same sentence that she keeps talking about being day-to-day and taking things one day at a time. In actuality, those two things are not compatible. This was made extra clearer by the All-Star Games time. Due to an injury that the team apparently didn't anticipate or couldn't prevent, Caitlin was unable to participate in the WNBA season's biggest showcase event. That is a huge failure on a number of levels. Additionally, the fan response has been harsh. Individuals are beginning to wonder if the Fever organization can effectively manage its key player. There are issues that extend far beyond basketball when your supporters are losing faith in your medical personnel. Since most media outlets are attempting to be diplomatic about this, the coverage has been intriguing. However, the subtext is quite obvious. Reporters aren't merely having a discussion when they pose probing questions regarding Caitlin getting outside medical advice. The fact that this is all taking place in public is what is most harmful. The majority of professional sports handle player requests for outside medical care or second opinions discreetly behind the scenes. The fact that this is now being discussed in public indicates that Caitlin's relationship with the team's medical personnel has deteriorated considerably. It might also have an intriguing effect on team bonding. What message does it send to the other players if your best player doesn't trust the medical staff? Will they begin to doubt the standard of the healthcare they are getting? Will they also begin to look for outside opinions? This scenario must also be of concern to the league headquarters. The WNBA cannot afford to have its top players sustain injuries on a regular basis due to dubious medical care. They may eventually have to intervene to ensure that their most precious asset is receiving the care it needs. Caitlin is also likely aware of the parallel to the medical treatment of NBA athletes. LeBron James has an entire staff of trainers, doctors, and personal trainers. For his injury problems, Steph Curry receives the best care available. Why should Caitlin Clark be treated differently? Simply because she is a WNBA player. This decision's financial component also makes great sense. If Caitlin is going to have a long, successful career, she needs to be sure her body can handle the demands of professional basketball. Seeking outside assistance is a wise move if the team's medical staff isn't offering that caliber of care. The standard that this establishes may also have important implications for other WNBA players. Other athletes may begin to follow suit if the league's top player loses faith in the team's medical staff and seeks care outside. Teams might be compelled to improve all of their medical programs as a result. It's likely that the liability and insurance concerns are also fascinating. Who is covering the cost of Caitlin's outside medical care? Who bears the blame in the event that something goes wrong? Problems like these occur when athletes lose faith in the team's medical personnel. There may also be long-term effects on Caitlin's relationship with the company. The fact that she felt the need to visit the team medical staff will be remembered even if her injuries heal properly with outside treatment. That isn't exactly an endorsement of the organization's capacity to look out for its athletes. There are also important wider ramifications for the WNBA. What does the inability of teams to offer their best players proper medical treatment say about the professionalism and competitiveness of the league as a whole? If players are not confident in the medical care they are receiving, how can you draw in and keep elite talent? Additionally, the developmental component is significant. Since Caitlin is still in the early stages of her career, the way her injuries are treated now may have an impact on her performance and long-term health. Receiving the right care today could make the difference between a lengthy, prosperous career and one that is cut short by recurrent injuries. Additionally, the Fever's public relations nightmare is only getting started. You don't want a story about your company going viral when your best player publicly seeks outside medical attention. It poses difficult-to-answer concerns regarding professionalism and competency. This must also be a concern for the coaching staff. If Stephanie White's top player continues to sustain injuries, she will be unable to develop a competitive team. Seeking outside assistance may be the only choice if the medical staff isn't involved in the solution. Additionally, the fan experience is hurting. People purchase tickets and watch Caitlin Clark perform live. Additionally, her ongoing injuries have an impact on attendance, viewership, and team interest in general. The organization is practically losing money as a result of the medical staff's incapacity to keep her healthy. Additionally, the league's relationship with Caitlin may be impacted. To keep up the momentum and excitement she has created, the WNBA needs her playing and staying healthy. Interesting dynamics may arise if the league believes the Fever aren't effectively managing their most valuable asset. Most likely, the long-term effects are the most worrisome. What will happen if Caitlin has more significant health problems and she can't trust the team medical staff with her present injuries? The brief careers of professional athletes are already enough without having to worry about receiving proper medical care. Setting an example for other young athletes is also crucial. What message does it convey to other gifted players thinking about pursuing careers in professional basketball if the league's brightest young star doesn't feel like she's receiving the right medical attention from club personnel? It is unavoidable to be compared to other professional leagues. To better protect players, the NFL, NBA, and MLB have all had to change their medical policies and procedures. Perhaps the WNBA will be forced to take similar action as a result of this circumstance. The interaction between the individual and the team is also intriguing. There is always a conflict between what is best for the team and what is best for the individual player in most professional sports. However, such interests ought to coincide with medical care. It appears that they aren't, which points to more serious issues with the organization's operations. The best move Caitlin Clark has made this season is most likely her refusal to have faith in the Fever medical professionals. It's time to discover folks who truly know what they're doing when your body is your job and the team doctors are unable to keep you well. How do you feel about this drama in medicine? Leave a comment below. If you want more WNBA chaos, hit the like button and subscribe.